Hey everybody, Dakota here with my good friend Mario. We are here today to talk to y'all about podcasting, music, movies, everything. We've been guests often on other people's podcasts in this fun internet world that we have been exploring, and we're wanting to jump in here and give it a shot ourselves. So I hope y'all can bear with us through any technical difficulties we may have, and you know, leave some feedback at the end if you enjoyed it. Hello,
Yeah,
Mario. How are you?
yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, I'm good. Yeah, I thought it'd be a great thing to give it a shot. Just have a conversation and shoot the shit. And we've known each other for a while now. We've had, work together on projects technically, like what,
That's
your
true.
artwork and my music have done something together that I think looked pretty cool. And it just worked out great. And yeah, I'm a big fan of your artwork, and it's sick to see you like balance like painting and music, you
Hmm.
know? Like
Yeah,
those are two pretty heavy things to simultaneously be doing.
yeah. I am in my paint studio right now. I'm sniffing the mineral spirits. I've got a wet one here from if anyone's out there watching Fish Tank. I'm finishing up a leady for
Sick.
someone. Uh, Of course, those are hard to paint because those cameras on that show are shit, so there's not much contrast. But yeah, um, yeah, me and Mario first kind of worked together. I heard him on the Low Res Movies podcast and was intrigued by a sort of off the beaten path that you were taking. And I think I reached out to you over Instagram, and we found uh we found some cover art for one of your songs eventually, and
Yeah. I think it was like
we
right around the
eventually did
time.
a podcast with Low Res together. We did Elvis, I believe, last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
Great time.
returned to that? Have you returned to that movie at all?
I haven't returned to it yet, just because I
Hmm.
remember how stoked I was seeing it in the theater, and then I haven't really. Every time I go to like throw it on, you know, my little TV, I'm like, I don't know, I'm still riding high from
Hmm.
that first experience. But yeah, I think it was right around the time I had finished that song Punch Drunk, and then didn't think that I was going to actually release it by itself. And then I had my younger Zoomer cousins were very convincing. They were like, "Oh, this is tough. This is the one." And I was like, "What the fuck? Okay, fine." So I was like, had that idea that I needed some artwork for it, and then just saw that painting you did, and I was like, "Well, damn, this is phenomenal." And I think it would just, you know, pair well with the song. And it's pretty straightforward, but you were kind enough to let me use that, and you know hopefully some people see that and check out your artwork and enjoy the rest of it.
You threw me some bones for it. It wasn't a truly selfless act. So, but
Nah,
I do
nah, nah.
appreciate
Least
I
I could do.
appreciate your patronage. Um, yeah, I know that feeling about trying to want to reclaim the original energy for for an experience. Like I saw Danny Brown back in college, and I was doing some MDMA or something, and I couldn't listen to the recordings for a long time after because it just paled in the comparison. Um,
Yeah,
but
totally.
yeah, yeah, the punch drunk artwork is fun, man. I feel like that's how I feel. I feel like a beat up fucking fighter a lot of these times. I'm
Yeah,
actually
man.
trying to get into boxing now, and I'm pretty fucking horrible at it. I'm never a physical. You skateboard, so you at least have you're in tune with your body in a certain sense. I don't think I never had that coordination. My parents always let me quit the organized sports, and I wish they'd held me to that. I think it would have been a little helpful if I hadn't I don't know. My 20s, I just turned 30 over the weekend, but my
Damn.
20s have been a lot
Congratulations.
about, yeah, fucking old.
I'm almost there, dude.
Are you
After
29, right?
yeah, this is my last summer. This is my last
You're a
summer in the 20s,
you're a
so
fall, you're a Virgo or something?
I'm a
When are you born?
fucking I'm a Jupiter rising. No, I'm a fucking what's it
Jupiter
called?
ascending.
Libra. Libra.
Ah,
I'm a Libra, dude.
I think my mom's a Libra too. Is that the scales?
I'm not too well versed on all the
You got,
lore,
you're
but
not
I know
talking to any
that's
girls right now, clearly.
no, believe me, I've pretended to be interested before. That's for sure.
It's fun to fuck with people and tell them a different sign than you are, and then they say some shit, and then you go, I wasn't even that sign. And then
Yeah.
they'll say, well, that's exactly what your sign would do. They always can turn it around on you like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm like I find I don't know. I'm at the point where it's so I see that stuff so much. I'm like more impressed with like someone who's like religious or something, you know?
oh well, yeah. I
I'm
mean,
like, all right, cool. I don't give
there's
a
no
fuck at all.
practicing in the astrology, really. You know, there's
Right. It's
no,
just
the
like
ritual involves reading like tarot cards for someone, you know, but like,
yeah. It's a lot
you
of
know,
other
I think,
people pointing you in certain directions or like other
mhm.
forces,
I
but
think that's
whatever.
a good indicator of where we are as a society, you know. Um,
Yeah. It's a good
I
time
don't
to
think
be
hor
good time to be led.
I'm horrible at holding myself accountable to things, you know. You know, I know you've been sober for a while, and that's really awesome. You know, I also took about a year and a half off from drinking before I started again, you know, and it's hard to meet people who want to deny themselves, you know, and understand that benefit. It's a lot easier to be indulgent, but I find I feel really burnt out. You know, I had a good 2 or 3 weeks where I was drinking every day recently. Now I'm
Mm,
trying to cut it back because I was just feeling like, well, I wasn't feeling very productive. You know, I was just out with my
yeah.
friends partying, and that's fun. Um, but then I was just like, oh my God, I'm not being creative. I feel burnt out. I'm just going to work and then I'm getting off and I'm drinking
Yeah.
and then I'm waking up and I'm feeling hungover and I don't want to go to the gym, you know.
Right.
So it's hard, but I think like, you know, the positives with not drinking are generally like health wise and mentality. The negatives for me are generally just more of a sort of isolation and maybe replacing it with kind of a lot of screen time, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
which
think
doesn't
it
make you
like
physically sick, but you know, mentally.
yeah. In a weird way it becomes like it can be like a positive and a negative for people as far as like what I think that can do with your time because I think sadly like a lot of people want to I used to think about it like this, like if I didn't really have anything going on or nothing planned for a while, when I was drinking, I was like, oh, I could just drink for like 2 weeks and then it'll be time to do that thing. And like that's
Mhm.
like really how it felt. It was like speeding up time. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, they're working towards a vacation or something. So whenever
Hmm.
they can, get those drinks in, it kind of speeds up time a little bit
Yeah.
because you're not really like recording those experiences with your brain all the way and then all of a sudden time has passed, which is terrifying. And
Yeah.
you know I
My
mean
uncle, yeah,
I wish I
my dad and my uncle say the same thing about drinking. It's just like a good way to pass the time, you know, and yeah, it's hard to lose yourself in the moment all the time, I think, and that's why we look for these other things. But you know, it's like if you're not reaching for the bottle, what are you going to reach for? And that's kind of the exciting part of life. You know, it's like what
yeah.
skill could you learn? What relationship could you develop? What sort of self-reflection could you do if you're breaking that habit? And I think that's how your brain grows is when you push yourself out of that routine to a certain extent, and it does slow down time because usually if you're probably doing something that's somewhat tedious or not
Hmm.
that fun, you know, and then you're just like, oh my God, get me out of it. But like
Yeah.
God,
It might,
I've
yeah.
wasted so much time in my life, and it bugs me, you know. I'm like, damn, I should have done more. It's hard to find that good line.
Yeah, well, it's good that you have outlets, you know. You have at least you have a few outlets, and a lot of
I have
people
a lot of
need
outlets.
to yeah, a lot of people need to find even just one to kind of
Yeah.
put them get them a little bit more centered. So we got our outlets. So
Hmm.
that's that's good. That's good for us.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a pizza place and I was looking at these guys maybe a couple years younger than me, and I'm just like, what do you do? You know, like, because
Hmm.
it just sounds like they go work a day job and then they play video games or something. You know, this is the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I think I forget how lucky I am to have developed a skill set in music and art, you know, kind of early on, so that now I
Hmm.
can kind of perform in that sphere to a certain extent. You know, I think it's
Hmm.
probably extremely daunting to like pick something up, but then again, you know, it's like I've got a brother 5 years younger than me, and I say, or I even just meet people like 5 years younger than me, and I say, you know, I started painting when I was your age, and look at what I can do now. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like it seems daunting, but then 5 years will pass, and will you have a new ability at the end of that or not?
Yeah.
It's kind of up to you.
Hopefully I can take some good photos in the next 5 years. I think that's one thing that like has interested me a lot more recently that I gave no shit about before. Like
Hmm.
didn't take photography in high school, was not interested at all. And then, you know, I just started buying like little point and shoot cameras and going to get my film developed and getting them back. And like it was like a rewarding experience, an expensive, rewarding experience. And I don't know. I've just been having a blast, like kind of having that camera on me. So like whenever I see some shit, you know, maybe I want to pull over and take 5 minutes to get a shot of something and then get back in my car. And I think that like little extra thing kind of, you know, you don't get bored as easy when you're kind of
Yeah.
looking out for it's like when I'd be driving around and like see a skate spot or something,
Hmm.
you know, it like keeps your eyes busy and it kind of keeps your mind a little bit like be on the lookout for something, you know, which is like a kind of
Hmm.
like primal thing. And I think that photographers have that same sort of like whatever the skateboarders have with skate vision and like kind of always is that something over there that I might be able to
Hmm.
put my board on, you know? And photographers, you know, definitely have that. And hopefully, you know, hopefully I get a little bit better at it and a few years from now I have some photos that I'm like pretty, you know, proud of, just like I would be proud of you know, a song or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, your photos are really nice.
Thanks.
Are you going to incorporate, you know, you could kind of take the Larry Clark route and be the old guy at the skate park taking
Oh
pictures of the
no,
young
no,
kids.
no. The Larry Clark taking off his shirt and gathering the youngest skateboarders at the
Oh
park.
my,
No.
yeah, a different
I
time, I
am
guess.
I am the oldest. Sometimes I am the oldest skateboarder at the park. Sometimes with my shirt off, but I don't
Hmm.
I haven't been, you know, wrangling anyone to bring to a film set.
Sure, sure,
I'm just
sure.
skating with them.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I need to look at more of his work. I did a lot of my early 20s is a lot of experimental film stuff, and he was always kind of in that mix a little bit. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the art and taboo has always been a thing, and it's yeah, it sucks now for sure. Everyone's kind of scrutinizing everything a little bit harder, and it's frustrating, you know, and you just want to kind of do something to backlash against it, but then it, you know, ends up haunting you in some way, you know. So I don't know. I
Yeah, it
think
kind of sucks that you can't really I've seen it happen, you know, multiple times where people don't let their work kind of live or like the way that they wanted to create something in that moment came to them a certain way, whether it was lyrics or whatever the fuck, whatever artwork they wanted to use. And then they go, the first thing is just like they, oh, well, I, you know, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
people will think this. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it sucks that like their first thought isn't just being happy that they've thought of something
Mm-hmm.
to put out and like
Yeah.
create. It's like the first thing is like, is what they're afraid of, you know?
Yeah.
And it sucks. It really sucks to see that, because, you know, I've had friends that have showed me for photography that is fucking amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, but I can never post this. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? You know, like, so it's like, if you're really, you know, I don't know, I keep talking about fucking photography, but like, if you're like out there in the streets or what, your studio, and you have something that looks, you know, inspiring and striking, to not show anyone is really like crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, shoot yourself in the foot with your camera type
Mm-hmm.
type shit. Like, what are you doing then? You know, like, you picked this thing, and
Yeah.
when you have that moment, when you have that thing, like, it's almost like the least you could do is take a fucking, you should be, you know, be able to take a couple licks for your fucking work.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks that,
I
like, you
I
know,
yeah. I
it's not
like
like a
that
tough
about
guy
you.
thing.
You talk about that a lot, where you'd say, yeah, get it out. And like, I'm in that I'm in that fucking boat right now, man. I've got this record that I'm just trying to finish, and I'm going like, oh my God, did I double check the vocals right? You know, are the drums okay? We got two producers on it. So there's songs that sound radically different. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But you know, I gotta just kind of push through and finish it, you know.
Yeah, you got to finish it, dude. Sitting on records is like one of the most fucking haunting things. Like, I seriously hate that feeling.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
you know,
you were kind of doing that with yours from last year, right? You maybe had a distribution thing lined up, but then that didn't work out, and then you were like, "Oh, I wasted all this time. I should have just put it out in the first place." Is
yeah,
that correct?
yeah. The only thing that, yeah, I had a bad experience with just a fucking company promising things. And then
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, they want to do singles first. And then seeing their little tricks that they wanted to use to get more exposure for singles, and like seeing nothing different. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, okay, you wanted me to take my time, stick to the release dates that you wanted to do, and I'm not seeing any difference than if I put this out myself. So then I just kind of cut it off before I put out the whole record. I was like, no thanks anymore, you know, like, because I let him, like, I gave him a couple months, like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not seeing any difference in numbers. I'm not seeing anybody reaching out going,
Hmm.
oh, I'm from France and you worked with the distributor in my town. Thank you. You know, like,
Hmm.
no difference is happening. So I kind of cut that off before the record came out. But because they made me take my time, I ended up being able to sneak a couple more songs onto the
Hmm.
record that I maybe didn't have at the time that I originally wanted to put it out.
Yeah.
So, you know, it made it a little bit of a longer record. And I guess, you know, that changes the whole thing a little bit. So
Hmm.
it ended up not being so bad. But, God damn, yeah, I don't know where that guy was. That guy was in like Germany or France or something, but
Yeah.
it was such a process. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at least when you work alone, the thing that you should be able to, you know, you get to have your sanity, right? Or
Yeah.
like, you should at least be able to have that. So like, when, you know, creative decisions and picking when people hear stuff, all of that is like the least that you get, you know. You're not getting like a push from like companies, you're not getting uh you know, whatever algorithms and tricks, and what, like, no strings are being pulled behind the scenes. But like, at the very least, you get to choose what things look like, sound like, when people hear them. And, you know, that could keep you going much longer when you have that.
It's crazy about the industry push. I get really depressed because I feel like I see it happening, you know, and I'm just like, this is the band they decided they want to they want to push this month, and it might be good, but it's just like it's always across the board, and it's just like money, and also just sort of, limp dicked kind of. I mean, I feel like music is sort of the most cucked genre of art at
Yeah,
this point, just because it's like I can't imagine anyone who looks like us or identifies as us really having anything exciting to say that would be backed by money, essentially, at this point. It's just like,
no,
and there, I think it's just like not we're it's not what's hot, and but I think it's freeing too, in a way. We get to exist in the low res universe, sort of, and in this sort of alternative entertainment world that I'm kind of becoming more privy to, and I think it's getting bigger too.
yes,
um
the good people of the internet, which are out
the good
there.
people, well, yeah, I mean, it's a certain type of internet. I think it's not like the sort of YouTube reacts. I think it's more like, let's create our own digital language, and like these are our heroes and whatnot, and it's fun to participate in and keep up with. I think, I mean, low res got me into Jack the Perfume Nationalist, and then from there, I think I also, from low res, I met like Tim, who you did a
Hmm.
show with recently that I really enjoyed. I loved that format. I don't know, were you all listening to the songs, or was he cutting them in later?
He cut all that in, so he had to do some editing
Yeah,
work.
that's what I assumed, because you listened to one, and then he started
Yeah, I
listening
didn't.
to it a little bit afterwards, and he was like jarring. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, I think I'll
I
like that."
didn't
And I was like, "Oh,
even.
I just listened to this."
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even sit. I know we were gonna do that. I think he forgot to tell me until like 15 minutes
Yeah,
before the call.
yeah.
He was like, "Oh yeah, pick 10 songs." I was like, It's like looked at my
It's cool.
Spotify playlist.
I could really hear your influence in a lot of them.
Mhm.
Especially Julian, and I mean, Julian's great. I have you've seen them, I assume, live, the
Uh,
Strokes or the
oh
Voids
yeah,
or any of that.
the
Have you
Strokes a
seen them
bunch of
perform?
times, the Strokes a few times, but I never got to see the Voids yet, and
Hmm.
that's kind of
Hmm.
I like I don't even really go out and see live music, but I am like dying to see that live show. That's like the only thing like if it wasn't too far, I would probably drive a good distance to see that live
Hmm.
because like I don't know. I feel like I'm hearing like, you know, that sound and that music is just really exciting to me and, song like dude, I've probably listened to that song like Human Sadness in the last since it came out like I don't know how many fucking times, dude, but that's like my favorite song in the last 10 years probably, you know. And yeah, I just that's my favorite music right now. And my favorite group to listen to. And
Yeah.
other than that I don't really I can't get that I can't get that rush or like I still have a
Hmm.
problem like when, people get excited for like music festivals and I'm like, how how is this how does this work that all these people would pay to like stand in the field in this
Hmm.
heat stroke and do $20 beers and like it
Hmm.
blows my fucking mind. I mean, I guess you just have to be like mainly young and like fucked up, you know.
Hmm.
That's mainly the crowd, but it's like I can't fucking picture myself being on the other side of the fence like ever again. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't interest me. It's very expensive and it looks very uncomfortable. And I had all those experiences, like before I played festivals and when I was a kid and
Hmm.
finally got to see the Strokes when I was in high school and waiting for 12 hours in the sun and your nutrients were like blunt smoke and whatever liquor was like
Yeah.
whatever liquor was like in someone's like Camelback or whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
just
Oh God, the
sucking
fucking
on
like
like a lemon.
hot vodka with
Yeah,
some
or like
like cherry flavor or
yeah,
some shit.
hot
Oh,
red
the worst.
wine and
Oh, gross. Yeah. It was always
so
vodka for me before I was 21. That's what They always had some shitty. Oh man, yeah. But I you gotta come back to the other side, man. I've been going to a lot of concerts this year. It's been actually very humbling in a way. I'm just sort of like coming to peace. I was talking about this with my band yesterday. I was like, there's so much of my self-actualization wrapped up with wanting to be some sort of famous musician, and as time goes by I feel less and less like I even am viable option for that. And I think I'd like to regain some privacy in some way, and just I've always put this pressure on myself that I needed to perform, but then you deal with the negative sides of that as well, scrutiny, or just sort of I just this culture of the bands all kind of standing in the back of the room with their arms folded, talking shit about the other bands and then being nice to their face. I just felt that shit, and I don't know. I just like I wish like music communities are really hard because they don't make any money and they're very small, and
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's kind of like looking for a way to escape it, but also trying to like build other people up as well. Kind of you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And it's just sort of a difficult thing to navigate, I think. And it's been fun just to go to shows and not like local shows, just go see bands I'm into right now and just vibe, but just you see the same people at all of them. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know any of these people, and I don't know why I want to play to this room because I don't fucking like any of these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these people are assholes, man.
I did go out. I did try to have a regular night when
Mhm.
this band of my heroes, the Black Lips, was in town.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like the moment when I was in a high school where I like saw live music and I was like, oh, this is for sure possible.
Mhm.
Like it was like it was that kind of moment where I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I would like to do. Like it was very real to me when I first saw that band.
Mhm.
And so I went out just to try to, like you said, just to try to have a fucking normal experience. But I mean, it was fine. Nobody was like rude to me or anything, and they were super hospitable and took me back to the green room and we caught up and just kind of hung out normal. And but it wasn't it feels different. It feels different
Yeah.
when I'm like just drinking like a Coca-Cola and
Mhm.
seeing them like still in this lifestyle that I spent so much time in, like in that
Mhm.
element. And like I know exactly what it feels like and like where what it feels like to be on tour. And it was kind of strange to experience it that way.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was still enjoyable to like see them play and everything. Like I still had a nice time
Yeah.
and everybody was cool to me. Nobody was
And
rude.
yeah, I get it, man. I know it can be triggering, but you get to go home and sleep in your bed afterwards, which is nice. You know,
Yeah.
I did a very small tour in college. Nothing obviously close to what you probably did, but I was sleeping on the floor every night, and I
Yeah.
was like, I gotta just drink a lot because if I don't knock myself out with alcohol,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna not be able to sleep, and then that leads to bad behavior, and then you start, it all kind of ties in with each other, and you're just like, well, you don't really understand the circumstances, and it's and yeah, you make no money too
Right.
if you're not backed by anybody. But anyway,
Right.
neither here nor there. Um,
Yeah, it was hard. It was
uh,
just hard. It was hard to like think about. It was hard to think about like getting into a van or something and like doing the whole thing. Like part of me did feel kind of yeah, like lucky that I got to look into it, like look into the like check in on it. It was weird. It was like checking in on like that
Yeah.
lifestyle, and then being
Yeah.
able to go home and being like,
It's
it's
a
a
weird thing when
serious
your identity is tied
choice.
up into something, and then suddenly if you can't, if you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you feel lost, and yeah, I had these huge aspirations that I was just gonna like be a film director and stuff, like right out of college. And I moved to Los Angeles and I was partying in LA, and I eventually ran out of money and I moved home, and it was like an extremely difficult thing. And I had trouble playing music. I was shell shocked and whatnot. And just because I had been essentially excused from every band that I had ever been in,
Mm,
and I was just like, everyone's gonna leave me. I don't like working with people, and I eventually picked up painting because of that, getting back
mm,
to sort of what you were talking about earlier about controlling kind of the production and being like the one man show sort of thing, and I've been able to crank out a bunch of paintings. And eventually, the pandemic happened and I was able to start Ooze Box with my brother, and that kind of gave me that confidence. I was like, whoa, well, he knows me better than a lot of people, so I feel comfortable doing that. And I was like, but I'm never going to play live, and eventually I'm playing some live shows, and it's all been nice, and you just kind of, dip your toe back in. But I'm just like, man, I still, I'd rather do shit like this, like
yeah,
talk or write or do smaller things with a sort of diversified income, and not
yeah,
really, because I mean, God, it's like, God forbid another pandemic happens or something, it's just like it's
mm,
hard to want to essentially have the same business model as like a traveling circus,
yeah.
um
And it sucks that like once you,
but
dude,
it's fun, and it's like it's
yeah,
party, it feels like it's part of you. And you understand the sort of community of music, and the fact that people go like, oh, when's your next show or whatever, and you go like, I don't know, so
yeah, that's a
I think.
bummer though, dude. Like that part can be, you know, that part is a little dehumanizing when it's like you can't just see how somebody's doing. If somebody were to ask me, about a show or something,
Mhm.
if I was like, oh no, I have nothing booked, they almost want to be like, they want to like console you,
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah, I felt that
okay,
too. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm not really dedicating my life to, being a road warrior in a band anymore. But good luck getting people to talk to you like you're not some guy in a band for the rest of your life. Or
Mhm.
like, I mean, it hasn't been that long, but it feels that way where it's like, every conversation that, or there's some people that like only want to talk about, they only want to talk about music, or when they can hear more stuff from like my old band, or like, and like I start distancing myself from those people even though they're like supportive, even though like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, this person wants to see you win or whatever, they want to hear more. It's still like, don't you know that like I don't want to talk about the same thing when I'm not dedicating all my energy to this thing anymore. So like why would you think that that's all that I want to talk about, like this thing that like doesn't really sustain my life anymore. And it's like, it sucks when it's like, I know this person is like, they're not trying to like, trigger me or like piss me off, and like
Yeah.
they care, but it's like, put yourself in my shoes. Like, don't you like, wouldn't you be sick of hearing about something for
Mhm.
years on end if somebody's like,
Mhm.
hey man, what about this? And you're like, how about I have one day where I don't have to think about that?
It's crazy. You
Like,
do think about it every day, though.
yeah, it
Um,
would be nice. It would be nice.
you're in your Spider-Man 2 arc right now, where Peter Parker's lost his powers and is enjoying some normalcy in his life. But
Oh,
they
dude,
want you
pizza
they want
time.
you to
Yeah.
put the cape back on. They want you
Pizza
to put the
time.
suit
Yeah.
back on.
The
It's
pizza
pizza
time
time.
meme. That's totally
Ah,
what the fuck I'm in, which was
I
a
know
really
the
funny.
feeling though. It's like,
It's a
yeah, it's
funny
like
part of
you.
that movie. I'm in a very funny arc right now. It's good.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's like you don't want to be reminded of something that you're essentially trying to. It's like It's like you had a fiance and then she left you, and then your grandmother's going like, "Oh, she was such a nice girl. Whatever happened?
Yeah,
She broke my heart.
yeah. And they're
She
already
walked
saying that
out
to
on
me.
me."
I already hear that about somebody. Like I'm already hearing that about people I've dated. Like so, it's like you know, like I'm already getting that,
You're
and I'm
living in
getting
the
the
past, man.
no. Everybody, yeah, everybody else is. Everybody else is, and
Mhm.
it's it can be a little bit
Well,
frustrating.
it's like you gotta, yeah, it's like the only thing you can do is kind of come back with something just as exciting or more exciting in a different field, or even in your music with a different project or whatever, and you get to reclaim your narrative. And I think it'll come. I think you work really hard, and you stay persistent, and and if it doesn't, who cares? If you're having a good
Yeah,
time and you're doing your photography or your electronic project or whatever you're working on,
yeah. That's
um,
gonna
you
fucking do that. You're gonna be like, what the fuck is this? Like
is
in a
this
good way.
is this going to be a voids adjacent kind of at the door uh, musical palette like that?
I would say this is more of closer to
Like,
like
are we
my
going
dad.
80s? Are we going like 80s electronic? Are we going like industrial? Are we going like Daft Punk?
I would say somewhere in between Daft Punk and industrial, but
Hmm.
like there's moments that are very heavy and moments where um it still gets melodic, but there's
Hmm.
also like I think like electronic kids like could listen to it. I think like a
Hmm.
kid that is just, might be addicted to Molly could like also enjoy it, but it like doesn't sound
The
like
Fred Again fans.
yeah, like it doesn't sound like that kind it doesn't sound like fucking EDM to me. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't sound like festival music when I hear it, but I think that those people would also appreciate it.
It's such
But
an
it's
odd subgenre. That's really cool that you're getting into it. Because yeah, it's like it blows my mind how many people love electronic festival music. And I don't know if it's all drug related and like that's the best, it's just like the best music to listen to on drugs.
mhm,
um I've not really I've not really fucked around with that stuff that much, to really
yeah.
know. But like, yeah, I'm excited. I think I don't know if you saw the Random Access Memories turned 10, so there was a little Julian clip going around about him working on Instant Crush.
Yeah, I haven't watched
Have
the
you
whole
seen that?
video. I haven't watched the whole
Oh,
video yet, but
I
I'm
saw
I'm
the little
definitely
the yeah.
I'm gonna
He's
watch the whole thing for sure.
I could see that being the vibe. Um,
No, honestly,
but
it's not. I kind
it's
of wish it
not.
was. I kind of wish I had something like that. But
I'm
again,
not
like
trying to paint you into a Julian Casablancas
no,
kind of box here either.
I'm a fucking super fan, and it's hard not to it's hard not to
Well,
be
y'all have some
influenced.
similar you have some similar composition things I've picked up on. You guys like the 2-5-1 chord progression
Well,
that'll be in.
he did it all first, so it's like anything that
Well,
I do
no,
that kind of
that
you
guys
know
in 1920s did it in jazz
yeah
first, but
yeah yeah
it's just a satisfying chord progression. I've used it too, but yeah.
yeah. There's
Da da
definitely
da
some
da da
influence.
da 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 is
Yeah, there's some influence there. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's I can't choose like my favorite shit that I hear. It just so happens that like I think that he's making better music than most people, and you know, whether it's
he's
with
doing it sober too.
yeah.
Another
So
sober
it's
king.
dude, I have a lot of sober kind of idols. It's like it like a lot of them, stopped and did like hardcore things, and that's also a huge thing that kind of I think kind of like makes me want to pursue a lifestyle like this because you see people that kind of took that route that are still doing really cool things and you're like That's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be burnt out, you know, in my 40s or whatever. Like I see people that are able to, you know, continue to create and make these
Hmm.
amazing things and age at the same time. And I'm like, I really want to be one of those people, and they don't get fucked up. A lot of them do not,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, yeah, look at like Kurt Cobain, I've lived longer than him at this point, You've
Hmm.
lived longer than some of your heroes, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you at a certain point, I think you gotta kind of look at yourself in the mirror and go, like, is this really what I want? I think it's hard. I work in a restaurant, so I'm kind of around it all the time. And that's difficult to manage at times. But
At
I
the end of
think
the day,
I
does everybody just rip shots together in a restaurant?
uh I've been at the same restaurant for about 4 years, and we kind of ebb and flow with our staff, whether or not we're
Hmm.
drunkies or not. But a couple of my coworkers have gotten sober. One's at about a year, one's at about 8 months. They both kind of cited me as being a good influence for them to do that,
Nice.
even though I've since relapsed. It's really different though, man. I honestly, it's just, I mean, I
Yeah.
know that sounds like every person who drinks always said that shit to me when I was sober too. So, take it with a grain of salt. But,
Mm.
it's I think yeah, I just really did not want to live anymore. I really felt like I had just fucked my life up too much, that I was sort of irredeemable or whatever, and that all my dreams were never going to come to fruition. And I just drank, and that actually led to more problems. And then I was like, oh shit, it can
Yeah.
get worse.
Right. Right.
Um, so, but yeah, I mean, they give everyone a free drink at the end of their at the end of your shift, and there's a Boilermaker that you can get. So, but I've seen management get more fucked up than staff a lot of the times, which is kind of
Hmm.
fucked up. Um, and like I had a manager who, had long COVID, and I was always just kind of in my head, I'm just like, no, dude, you're just an alcoholic.
Hmm.
That's why you feel fucking terrible. It's
Yeah.
not, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I shouldn't get into
Yeah, but it'll
that.
it'll it'll
You
definitely
know what I mean,
contribute
though?
to
It's just
your
like, are you really that tired from this virus that you had 2 years ago? Are you tired because drank 8 cocktails out on the patio after your shift last night that I served to you? But he's
right.
no longer with the company, so
Oh,
whatever. Um, yeah, it eventually his luck ran out eventually. But
yeah.
he's a nice guy too.
Hmm.
It's just everyone does have a different relationship with it. Um, but yeah. Um,
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of it is like not being able to pause your thought process, I think, where
mhm.
like even if it's like a bunch of drinks at the end of the day, what about all the things that like you thought about during that shift? You know, what about like, I worked at a bar for a little over a year, and all those thoughts that I had about, would I be better off working somewhere else? All those things that like crossed my mind,
Mhm.
I had to address, I had to
Yeah.
think about those things. And the next time I worked, they didn't really go away. And it was like there was no drinking to like buy those thoughts like any time, So like those thoughts like in a
Yeah.
way like kept bothering me in a good way, where like I couldn't push them to the side at all. And I think that kind of it helps a lot of people's it can help the thought process over time,
Yeah.
because there's no ignoring any questions or any self-doubts or whatever it may be.
I agree. I think them feeding us alcohol at the end of our shift keeps us in that kind of cycle of sadness where you go, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Okay, this is good. And like the thing I had to learn in sobriety, of just learning that the reward is the moment. There's no reward after the moment. And I think that's where you get in this sort of cyclical drinking or smoking weed all the time or whatever. is that, you basically have the good part of your day and the bad part of your day. And it's hard to actually let you have the actual flow that your mind probably naturally exists in if you aren't sort of um influencing in that way,
Yeah, you should be able to know when you really had a bad week, like you
Yeah.
shouldn't, and it shouldn't be so influenced by like outside, like, like, when you have like when you're having a really having a tough time, like, or if you're having a really good time and things have been going well.
Yeah.
And it's not because you've been fucking buzzing on a couple drinks at like, you haven't been like hitting a happy hour every day. Like that's not the reason why.
Yeah.
It's just important. I don't know. Like a lot of people it's so ingrained in so many people. And I know a lot of people, they always like will be citing their coworkers as like, well, on Friday, my coworkers invited me to this, bar straight
Yeah.
after work. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn, like you guys didn't even fucking go home and change or anything. Like it was just like, well, there was this place. So we went there for a while and then we all drove drunk back to our houses and then we all fucking met up at somebody's house and there was a fight. And it's just like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, like, your bosses or your fucking managers are like encouraging enough, but you guys aren't helping yourselves once you're, free and
Yeah.
like on your own to make your own
Mhm.
fucking decisions. I don't know. It sounds sketchy.
No, I mean, I
But
was drinking the other night and I just started to feel really angry. And thankfully I didn't get fucking beat up, but I was sitting in a chair at a bar and there was this group of people having a conversation. And I just thought to myself, I'm gonna just scrape my chair back and forth while I sit in it and be, oh shit. Are we good? I lost
yeah.
you. Okay. I was just like, I'm gonna just scrape my chair back and forth and be as loud as
Yeah,
possible
like I'm just
to
gonna
just
be
be
shitty.
like, I'm just like gonna and just be shitty. And like I did it, and then I started them noticing me. I was like, I
Yeah.
need to stop. But that's just it's just like where your mind kind of goes when you're in that space. You get a little reckless, and you want to just kind
Yeah.
of
And then you're
push
frustrated.
buttons.
You're frustrated. You can't sleep. You're not gonna make,
Hmm.
I mean, it's deep, but like from my experience, it was like, I'm not gonna make any changes myself right now or tonight. So maybe,
Hmm.
so maybe it's somebody else that I'm supposed to talk to that's supposed to help me. And then
Hmm.
you start thinking that it's somebody else's job to make you feel better, and it's a fucking
Hmm.
vicious cycle.
Yeah. I'm just plugging my phone in here.
I'm just trying to kill a fly.
Nice,
I
nice.
just punched a window, but he lived.
We get it. Let's see. All right, we're good. But yeah, nice. This has been a very, very affirming. I like that word. Ah! Oh man, my I had it propped up on a vase and it just fell and shattered. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's okay.
So I mean, I'm trying to think of other things besides like
I think we
you
could
know,
maybe wrap it up here. Maybe just on that note.
yeah, no,
We're
it's
at
good.
about an hour, which is
That's
nice.
solid. That's solid, dude.
We're at 53 minutes. I think yeah, we can maybe put this out on DistroKid or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was I'm up for whatever. I usually just
We
like throw
talk off
things on.
camera.
Yeah. I
I think this
always
has been really good though, honestly.
no, it was great, dude. It was a good conversation and I think more people should just do more stuff like this, you know?
Yeah.
Why aren't people recording more conversations? Well, I mean they do, but it's like sometimes when you watch a podcast, it feels like you can like see everybody's kind of sometimes you can see when there's other things that they're trying to do, you know?
Hmm.
Like sometimes it's not always just a genuine conversation, which is when it's the best format. But sometimes you can see, especially like when there's cameras on, I've just seen podcasts where it's like, it's like uncomfortable sometimes when somebody's
Hmm.
trying to make something happen or get somebody to say something. And it's very much like, no, 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 this is not the the benefit of this format. It's not supposed to be like this, you know? It's not, it shouldn't be like reality TV where like there's like, you know, people are trying to trick anybody or like somebody's got to be the bad guy or something. But like I feel like these really popular podcasts, sometimes I see that like dynamic start to play out and I'm like, oh
Mhm.
God, like this is uncomfortable to watch. And it's like, you know, it gets the
Mhm.
most clicks because like there's the most beef or whatever's going on the talk. But it's like I really don't like seeing shit like that.
I think
That
there's
stuff's
good beef, but you need to develop the trust. I've seen some where they just have a lot of guests on and then one person will just kind of dominate the conversation. And it's always the like naysayer, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
man, I didn't want to listen to someone just kind of shit on this for an hour and the other people to kind of like make a joke out of that person who is shitting on it. I don't know. But I know what you're
Yeah.
saying. I think yeah, I think but yeah, I think this was good. I think we have a lot in common that we can continue to discuss if we want to do more.
Yeah, man. Totally.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you to anyone who tuned in. This was
Yeah, thanks
Mario and
guys.
Dakota.
Later.
Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Stop
Yeah,
recording.
so I don't know how you want